Hi guys. So it's me, Regina. And this is Free from Fear. So I have been doing a course. It's called the Enlightened Empath. It's a life coaching course for empathetic or highly sensitive people, which I am. Um, I am evolving, I'm learning, I'm growing, I am healing, right? So I'm taking a lot of different courses for self development. Um, and they're speaking. I'm on like module 5, lesson 2. And it's just about finding your best path and whatnot. And I keep having these moments of tears or these moments of just, whew, I don't know what they are, right? Like I understand something is happening. I'm feeling something. And it brings tears to my eyes and I don't know what it is. I'm like, why am I about to cry? I don't understand, right? So, I mean, some of the questions that they're asking, this is about like career-wise, finding, our best paths. They're talking about zones of excellence, zone of competence, and zone of genius, which pretty much a zone of competence is something that we are capable of doing. A zone of excellence is something that we're really good at, but it does not make us happy. We do not feel joy doing it. It's just something we are very, very good at. And zone of genius is where we want to be, right? If this is where your heart lights up when you're doing whatever it is that you're doing. You feel fulfilled. You feel at one with the universe. You feel like, this is what you love, like deep, 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 deep in your soul. And the universe is going to line up. They're going to open those doors for you because this is what you were meant to be doing. I don't know why every time I talk about that, I'm getting worked up. I'm getting like this weird feeling, this weird sensation. And it's like, what do I need to pay attention to? Help me. Like, what do I need to understand? Why am I getting so choked up when I think about my heart's desire? And it's like, ask yourself these questions. What is your heart's desire in this moment? And I've never asked myself that. And once I like verbalized that question, I felt a wave of just something that I'm not able to put into words. Like I said, I'm still learning. I'm still healing myself. And I know like I've had so many jobs over, the course of the years. But I was never able to actually keep a job. And it's not because I'm inadequate. It was because I think my longest job was like maybe 2 years time. And that was as an adult. I worked in an office setting, doing quality control, analyst work. And that was probably my longest job. And before that, I've worked, since I was about 15, starting work. I worked at Popeyes. I worked at McDonald's. I worked at the bowling alley. I've worked at call center. I've worked, hotel. I've worked doing, what is that called? Where they call you to do a job and then, seasonal work or through an agency work. I've done all of those things. And what always happens for me is a lot of those jobs have a lot of people in them, and I get very overwhelmed. My sensory perceptions get very overwhelmed. I can't take it much. I wind up not coming, like just not showing up anymore. I'll wind up quitting because I just, this is just not, or I would get into a depressive state where I just couldn't leave my bed. And so I would eventually either be fired or, just lose the job or whatever the situation. And then it's like, I don't want to work for people, right? And maybe it's not that I don't want to work for people. It's just I haven't found something that I like doing necessarily. I do have some regrets in life. I regret that I never was able to go to college. And I think that's a really big regret for me. And, at first wasn't, anyone else's fault, but over time it was my fault because, I would start college, right? And then something would happen or I'd have another baby and I would eventually leave. So at this point, I'm in debt with financial aid, student loans at around $15,000 to $20,000 debt, and I don't have a degree, and it's just unfortunate. Excuse me. My voice fluctuates ever since that surgery, and you guys, it's healing very well, but it fluctuates sometimes. I'm like, well, who is that? But no, honestly, and now it's like I'm coming into myself. I'm understanding myself more. I never gave myself time to know me. I never had time to really understand what I like or what I don't like or who I am. I can list traits, but that doesn't make me who I am. They're just decisions that I made, or that isn't who the core of me is. And for so many years, I didn't know who the core of me is because I had never had those experiences that allowed me to find the core of me. From young, I lived in a very traumatized, very trauma-filled life as far as back as I can remember. And then going into foster care, I didn't get the options to, delve into myself. It was like, okay, always worrying when this family is going to get tired of me. They're going to put me out. They all do. They don't like me. Or maybe I'm going to mess up. I'm going to mess up so bad that, I'll have to leave. And, don't get too close to these people. That was my constant thought process every day. I used to go to high school because I was in high school, and I would come home, and I had one foster mother that I lived with at this time in Randallstown. It was like my 12th grade year, and it was my 12th grade year, and I went to Newtown High School, and I would go to school, and then I would come back home. I never attended any extracurricular activities at Newtown. I didn't even go to lunch at Newtown. I went to the library portion during the lunchtime. I would read books and then go to class. I would do my work pretty much and leave. There was a few people that I connected with in Newtown, maybe like 3, maybe, because I just felt I switched schools a lot. I went to 4 high schools, and being in foster care in 2007, it wasn't something that was cool. No, you don't want people to know that your life was so fucked up that you had to go into the system, or you got taken away because your mother was a crackhead or an alcoholic or whatever the situation, or you were beaten or you've been raped. You don't tell people those things as a teenager. You're embarrassed. You see the girls that, and then that school had, it was a little, I don't know. But I've seen girls that would dress up, and they had cars, and they had all these, nice things. And it was just like, yeah, I was very sad a lot. So I would go to school, do all my work. I was very smart, right? Like when I went into Newtown in like the English class, what they were working on, I had already completed at North County, which is in Anne Arundel County. I was finished. Like I would sit there like, seriously, this is what they're on. This is some bullshit. And, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just do the work, and then I'd like fall asleep. Anywho, I would come home from school, right? Come home from school. I would go in my room, because at that point I did have a room by myself. I didn't have to share with anyone. I was like really excited about that part, but I would come home, go in my room. I think my foster mother, she was retired, but she like had like this whole list of like daily duties she would do, right? And it was a really beautiful home. Like coming from South Baltimore into foster care, I got to see some really awesome homes. It definitely gave me some hope a little bit on that end. But still, like I said, I would come home from school, I would go into my room, I would shut and lock my door. So the curtains they had were really, really thick curtains, and they were so cool. Like you shut the curtains and it was dark in the room. So I would shut the curtains, I would have the television off, and I would play music just because I didn't want people to hear me. And I would sit in the chair, there was a chair in that room, and I would cry. And I would just cry so hard and so long. And I just couldn't understand why. Why was this my life? You know, like, why did my mother not love me? Why did my father never want to meet me? Why did I not know what he looked like? Why did people hurt me? What did I do? What did I do to deserve these things that happened? And I would just feel this ache, this deep ache and pain and hollowness all at once. And I just wanted it to stop so much. I wanted it to stop so bad. And it just would never stop. And then I'd be like, what do I do? What can I do to stop the pain? And by this time I was drinking pretty a lot. So I would drink, right? Or I would find that my foster mother had alcohol in the house, and I would drink some just to stop. You know, I would cry for hours to the point where my eyes were really puffy, you know, and excuse me. I'm just sorry. Just thinking back, because it puts me back, you know, those feelings always arise because why, right? Why was I so unlovable? Why, like I have no talent. I have nothing to give to anyone. I'm just this person who no one wants. You know, your mother didn't want you. Your father wanted nothing to do with you. Said your mother was a whore and to never contact him again. But he raised his 2 other children, you know, and you know, but I never got to see him until this year, and not in person. It was a picture on his obituary because he died last year. And then I still kind of didn't really see any resemblance. I'm like, oh, I don't know, whatever. I felt nothing, you know, but that's not here nor there. But yes, that was my teenage life. What type of life was that? I just recall. And I never got the chance to know me, because after I graduated high school and my social worker told me that, you know, it would be difficult for me to go to college or whatever the situation, I didn't want to leave thinking I couldn't come back for 4 whole years. I mean, I know I wouldn't have been like I would have been down in like Eastern Shore somewhere. And, you know, I didn't have a car. I didn't have that. And I was under the impression I could not come back until I graduated college. And that was wrong. But it doesn't really matter. But so in my mind, the next best thing for me, I eventually left that woman's home as well. And I think a lot of it was when I get in my head and I said, well, they're not gonna like you anymore. They're never gonna love you. They're never gonna really care about you. This is a job. This is just something they do to feel like, oh, they're giving back to their community. Or, you know, maybe, you know, I'm finding now that they say it's not much money in it or something, but some people do it for the money and some don't. But maybe they makes them feel good to think, oh, we're gonna take this little poor girl who's been through so much trauma and we're gonna, you know, give her a safe place to live, and that's it, right? You know, so they feel good about themselves. And I'm not saying, you know, I'm not saying that that's wrong, but I don't know. I just feel like my mind was so messed up going into care and experiencing the earlier years of foster care, and that set me up for failure, you know, because the earlier homes I had been in were trash. Those people were trash. Even a few homes, yeah, it was just trash. But I do know after I had went from her to her sister's after that, and then her sister's house was fine. Her sister's house was in the city, so that was back actually in one of my old neighborhoods in Irvington. And then when her son came home from jail, it just was mad awkward. I didn't want to be there anymore. He would say really like off the wall stuff, and I had already been molested plenty of times to know that it was coming. So I didn't want to be there, so I just stopped coming in that house. And at that point I met a guy, and it was pretty much the first guy that showed me any type of interest. You know, I wasn't attracted physically to this guy, but I did wind up having other attractions, attracting or trauma bonding with this person. And whatever the situation, we wound up having children. We have 4 children together. But yes, but my thought process after high school and after I thought I wasn't going to be able to go to college was, I just want a baby. Because my baby, I will love my baby. I will never abandon my baby. I will take care of my baby. My baby is going to love me. And then somebody will really love me, and that's my baby, right? This is a 17-year-old mind you. So, no judgments here. And if so, fuck you. But like I'm saying, at 17 years old, a person who had been abused, neglected, abandoned, and raped on multiple times, okay? This was the thought process I had in my mind.